Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast.
Thank you for downloading episode 295. This week we have Go Braves, Governor Greasy, Ivy League censorship, throwdown in the Senate, Hail Satan, Nikki Haley hates free speech, the Lieutenant Governor does not care for the Secretary of State,
surprise,
ballot access, and Tubbs. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in crime, Ken Pullen.
Sorry to interrupt there, but there's no love lost between Secretary of State and the Lieutenant Governor, or most elected officials and the Secretary of State.
Dude, how did he piss everybody off?
Yeah, I think he has. And I think he's one of the, I don't think he's ever going to win another election after he goes out of Secretary of State. I think he's going to try to run for either Senate or governor. I don't think he can win a primary ever again. But, I mean, he did beat Jody Heiss last time around, so maybe he can. Who knows?
He is not running for Senate. There's just no way.
He's going to run for something now. I think maybe governor, which is becoming a crowded field already in Georgia, so it may be governor.
I have more chance of running for being governor than he does, and I'm nobody.
I don't know. I mean, it's Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Chris Carr has announced he's going to run, and Brad Raffensperger. Who knows? I mean, it all depends on where the base.
Chris Carr's a scumbag too. I mean,
I would never vote for Chris Carr.
I mean,
but anyway, sorry to get carried away on that.
I could beat him. So we're borrowing $77,000 per day.
Yeah, I just saw this week and thought it was interesting stats. That the U.S. now it's borrowing $77,000 per second, not per day, per second.
Per second.
And per second. And we're also spending more money paying back the interest on our debt now. So what we pay on interest on our debt now in the United States is exceeded $1 trillion per year, which is more than we spend, on the military. So I don't even know how much the government's going to spend this year. I think around $7 trillion. So they're going to run a $2 trillion deficit, and $1 trillion of that is going to be spent just repaying debt. So that's just crazy numbers to think about.
Do you know the number one debt holder in the United States?
Is it? I've heard China before. I don't know if that's correct or not, but.
Nope.
All right. Let us know.
U.S. citizens.
Oh, yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time you buy a bond, there are municipal bonds, obviously, but when you buy government bonds, that's lending money to the federal government.
And it says the total debt currently is $100,000 for every person living in the U.S. That's not every taxpayer. That's like every person in the U.S. is in debt, $100,000. And it's just, it's continuing to skyrocket. It's gone up, I think, 85%. The national debt's gone up 85% since COVID. So just think if the national debt was 18 to 20 trillion in 2018.
And don't think that I'm excusing it. I'm just saying what it is. I'm not excusing it.
Yeah, no. It's just amazing that the debt is 33 trillion and counting, but literally 5-6 years ago it was 18 to 20 trillion, which is still a huge number. But it just shows since COVID came out, the government has just put the pedal down on spending, and there's nobody in DC that's addressing the spending.
And none of the people running for president are going to stop spending either.
No, nobody is.
When you look at
and even
left,
when I talk to even when I talk to my friends,
it doesn't matter.
No, and I talk to my friends about Social Security all the time. And they're like, "Well, you can't touch Social Security." Well, what the hell are we going to touch if we don't touch entitlement programs? Like, if you don't go after Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security, I mean, that's like 80% of the budget now, unless you cut back on the military, which, I mean,
they won't do.
They're not going to do. So, we've got to drastically cut back on Social Security.
As an Army vet, the military budget does need to be, hacked down quite a bit. But Atlanta got the All-Star game back.
Yes, we did. It's our weekly sports update, right? So changing into the outline now. Yeah, screw Stacey Abrams now, right? I think I can say that. She pitched a fit, 2 years ago, Dave, when the voting law got changed. Major League Baseball took the All-Star game away from us, and then they gave it back to us.
She called us all racists and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the same law in effect now, so nothing has changed. But Atlanta did get the All-Star game back, so good for Cobb County in getting that game back.
Well, the good thing is Ronald Acuna Jr. has been made the MVP.
Yeah, that was amazing news, right? He had 73 stolen bases and 41 home runs. Was that the final tally? And it was a unanimous selection too. I don't know how often that happens, but he was unanimously selected. So that's cool for him.
Oh, that boy can play. I mean,
he's amazing.
He's fast.
He's fun to watch. He's fun to watch.
He really is. And he has changed my opinion on showing off, because before him, I was very much opposed to the whole you hit a home run, you stand there and watch it go out.
I think there's different kind of showing off. I don't mind his. I don't know if you remember that Texas player in the World Series that he took it to a whole nother level, I thought, in showing off. It was like Acuna is a fun showing off. You can tell Acuna's having fun, right? That Texas guy was like an angry showing off. It's like it was him against the world, and he was gonna, I don't know, he just looked angry when he was doing it.
I get that. Is Acuna looks like he's having fun.
Yeah, that's what people like about it.
He's dancing around, and he looks like he's having fun. I don't think that him standing watching his home runs means that he's standing up that pitcher or anything else.
No, not at all.
He's having fun.
Yep, totally agree.
Good
for him. I like the football celebrations too. I haven't watched the NFL game this year, but I don't know what they're doing with celebrations. I used to love the Icky Shuffle and
the Icky Shuffle.
That's going old school.
That was actually referenced in my first show on Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong.
Yeah, the Icky Shuffle.
I don't want to spike the football, and Matt Lowe goes, "Yeah, Dave doesn't want to spike the football," and Jessica's over here doing the Icky Shuffle.
Who did and who was the football player that pulled the Sharpie out of his pants one time and signed the football, threw it in the stands?
Oh, Irving?
Yeah, he got in trouble because he said you couldn't use props as a celebration type material.
Well, there was a Dallas player that jumped into the pot for Toys for Tots.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I if you do something great in sports, I have no problem with it.
Yep.
Go do you.
But guess who's not doing great in sports? The Atlanta Falcons.
The Falcons are garbage.
They've lost 2 games in a row with under 30 seconds left in the game to I think it's 2 rookie quarterbacks. I mean, they lost to 2 terrible teams, but just the way they lost
to inferior teams. Yes.
Yeah, the way they lost was just really, really bad.
Oh, well. Man, I'm a Falcons fan. I
can't watch them. I don't even like watching NFL. I think NFL sucks.
Well, you have to do something on Sunday besides talk to your wife. I mean,
it's golf and napping.
Golf and napping. So
yeah.
Jimbo Fisher's been canned.
Yeah, so Jimbo Fisher, this guy fells upward. I've never seen anybody fell upward as much as Jimbo Fisher does. But yeah, Texas A&M canned Jimbo Fisher, but he's walking away with over $70 million in his buyout that they've got to pay.
I think I heard the term, and this was a friend of mine, $26,000 a day not to coach.
Wow. Yeah, I think he's done coaching. I don't know why he'd want to coach again. So, one of my friends that lives in Texas though, told me that A&M could buy most SEC football teams. He said they've got all that money, oil money, coming in from Texas to the football program. So $70 million was like a drop in the bucket to A&M.
That's where Johnny was, right?
Yeah, that's where Johnny Manziel was. Yep. But they said this was nothing to that program to pay this guy off to get him to go.
Look, I don't think Jimbo Fisher's a bad coach. I don't.
I think he's terrible.
Look, I saw him beat my Gators. I don't think he's a bad coach. In fact, if he wants to be in coaching again, I wouldn't be opposed as a lifetime member of the Alumni Association. I wouldn't be opposed to him being hired.
But doesn't he sort of leave programs in shambles? I mean, he left Florida State in shambles.
Yeah,
and now Florida State's undefeated this year.
Well, that's true.
When he leaves a program, he leaves a program with just nothing at the end of the day. And now, we'll have to see what Texas A&M does next year, but I promise you they'll be better than they are this year.
Well, speaking of hurting, we have Megan Rapinoe, who I despise.
Yeah, I don't know who likes this chick. She was the one on the U.S. women's soccer. She's U.S. women's soccer team. She's hard to deal with. So she was playing her last professional soccer game last week, hurt her leg, tore her Achilles in the first part of the game. Then this is where it gets really strange. She says, by hurting her leg, that is a sign that God doesn't exist. So this is she's lesbian, female, hardcore liberal. And she said by getting hurt, that's a sign that God doesn't exist. I would actually say completely the opposite. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure God cares about Megan Rapinoe. And what a terrible take, right? I mean, what is she trying to prove on her way out by throwing God under the bus?
No, she's an awful human being.
She's terrible. Absolutely horrible.
You can't blame God for getting an injury.
No.
And this is somebody who's had my joints rebuilt 4 times.
I know.
She's saying that God was watching that particular match and decided that, I'm going to hurt her. No. No, she's saying the opposite. She's saying God doesn't exist because she got hurt. She's saying if God would have been watching, she wouldn't have got hurt. Good God.
Yeah, no, it gets even screwier. Yep. All right, that's our sports update.
All right, so we have a politician that finally tells the truth.
Isn't this amazing? So, look, we're trying to be funny here, but Governor Newsom this week, last week, as the show airs, he had the Chinese dictator in. I don't know what his official title is, President Xi.
Well, he's Xi Jinping.
Yeah. So he had him in from China. Everybody knows San Francisco is just a hellhole out there. They've got people living on the streets everywhere, homeless people all over the place. They're pooping on the sidewalks. I mean, it's a terrible environment. Chinese president comes in, and he cleans the whole place up. So they asked Governor Newsom about, why did you clean up the street? And he said, and this is a quote, I know folks are saying, they're just cleaning up this place because of all those fancy leaders are coming to town. That's true because it's true. And then he said, but it's also true for months and months and months before APAC. So he basically said the truth out loud, right? We cleaned it up because a lot of fancy people were coming into town.
Man, I love San Francisco.
Oh, it's a beautiful city.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yep.
I mean, going to the pier
down around the wharf is amazing.
Is it Pier 13?
It's the Fisherman's Wharf down that way. You can look out and see Alcatraz and see the Golden Gate Bridge. is.
No, it's a fantastic city. I mean, it is one of the short list places that people should visit.
But not when it's turned into what it's turned into.
Yeah, not when you have to step over human feces.
Right.
But I went as a kid, and I will tell you, San Francisco is an absolute beautiful city.
It is incredible. It's just gone downhill. Right. I mean, a lot of stores have shut down because of the thieves and the looting that's coming into the areas.
No, it's an absolute poo hole.
Yep, I don't know if I'd go right now unless they kept it cleaned up.
I probably wouldn't either. When Connie and I were looking at places to go, we were looking at going out west again. We do Europe every couple years, so we're looking at some place to go out west, and it's like San Francisco, no. L.A., no.
I know. I still would like to go to L.A. We thought about doing that over Christmas, flying into Vegas and doing L.A. and San Diego. But you're right. It's just certain parts of L.A. are terrible now. But it's still, the West Coast is a gorgeous place to visit. It's gone downhill so much.
And I have friends out there. I mean, I have lifelong friends out there. It's just that it's such an S-hole.
Yep.
That, as a tourist, you don't want to go.
No. And I don't know if you saw this, but when the Chinese president was coming through town, there were Chinese flags everywhere, like on the streets. There was not an American flag to be seen. So, I mean, talking about rolling the red carpet out to a communist, that's exactly what happened last week in San Francisco.
Yeah, it absolutely did. So, your tax dollars.
Is this surprising?
Are being used to silence your voice.
Yeah, this story came out. But Republicans were investigating. They're investigating the 2020 election still, and how social media companies were silencing
2023, almost 2024. Yeah, they're still investigating 2020.
Yeah, they are, and how social media was silencing certain voices online. And what came out of a report this week is the State Department actually outsourced its social media censorship program to Stanford University ahead of the 2020 election. So basically, the Homeland Security and State Department worked directly with Stanford using tax dollars to silence conservative and Republican voices online. And it wasn't like they silenced both. And this is a quote. It said, "This pressure was largely targeted in a way that benefited one side of the political aisle. True information posted by Republicans and conservatives was labeled as misinformation, while false information posted by Democrats and liberals was largely unreported and untouched by the censors," the report read. So basically, we outsourced this all to Stanford, gave Stanford $200 million to go in and mark Republican and conservative information as misinformation. I know this is not a shock to anybody probably listening to this program.
No one's shocked about it. But
it's just the scale of the operation was huge.
It's heinous.
Yep, it is heinous.
Political speech is protected. And look, I understand that Twitter and Facebook are private organizations. I understand that. And I don't expect anything more from them than being
liberal.
Private. Being private organizations.
Yeah, they are private until the government starts telling them what to censor.
Exactly.
And that's where we've got the problem. Yep.
The problem is the government stepping in.
Yeah, I don't care what Twitter does as long as it's the government not telling them what to do. I don't like it because I think most of these are more. I mean, I don't like it. Right, if they censor my voice, but if Joe Biden in his White House tells Twitter to censor me, we've got a big problem.
Exactly,
and that's what happened. That's what happened.
But it also shows that the government was never on board with Trump.
No. None of the agencies up there, all the government workers were never on board at all. Right. They were undermining him at every turn.
Well, this shows they undermined him in this.
Yep, exactly.
The next story I absolutely love. I love this story. I love it, love it, love it.
You got to read the headline, though. Who knew Republicans in Congress were so feisty?
All right.
Go ahead, Dave.
First of all right, you read the headline.
Yeah.
Mullins is a MMA fighter.
Yeah,
Senator
where's
Mullins.
he from? So he's a senator from Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yep, tough-looking guy.
He's a MMA fighter. And he gets into a back and forth. And this has been happening for months.
Yeah, they've been going back and forth on Twitter also. So the Teamster boss, Sean O'Brien, actually tweeted on Twitter that he'd kick his ass if he came outside, right? If he met him somewhere outside of the hearing. That's kind of the backstory to this.
And Mullins says, "Stand your butt up." and the Teamsters head goes, "Well, you stand up first." Some bitch stands up, starts pulling his ring off. I mean,
yes.
he was.
I thought that was a power move when he pulled his ring off. Yeah, he was serious.
Yeah, he was seriously going to beat this dude's ass, and I love this story so much.
I don't know if you saw Bernie Sanders was actually chairing this committee meeting.
He was.
I thought Bernie had pooped in his pants. He had the craziest. I mean, he didn't know what was going on, right? He's trying to get the senators to sit down. He's screaming at both of them. He said, "You know, you're a United States senator. Act like it." Look, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. And that Teamster boss would have got his tail kicked by Senator Mullen.
No doubt. I mean, look, I've been a few scrapes myself. I probably would not challenge Mullins. I mean,
no, he's a tough guy.
Yeah, he's been a UFC fighter. I probably would not challenge him.
I didn't know he was a senator either. I'd never heard of this guy from Oklahoma.
Even in the interview, he said, "I may be a senator, but I'm a boy from Oklahoma first, and you don't call us out like that." I mean, I loved it. I loved it.
I don't even know when he took office. Do you?
No, I have no idea. But he made me so happy with his interview, even the interviews afterwards. He didn't back down. I mean, he basically said, "Hey, come on, boy, come on." And what I think is funny is the Teamsters are known for being like mobsters and stuff like that. And I'm putting air quotes around it. Nobody can see it, but I'm putting air quotes around it. But, you think about the Teamsters being, mobsters and all that stuff, and he shrunk. There's no way he was taking on Mullins.
Yeah, so he has served in Congress since 2012 and just got elected to the Senate last year. So this is his first year in the Senate. Good for him.
No, and great for him. I mean, look, dude was saying some outlandish stuff online.
He was.
And Mullins called him on it. Like, "You want to go?
Let's go.
Let's go right now." And look, Bernie restored order, and I will say that Bernie is the example of we don't need an age requirement. It's acuity because Bernie's still sharp.
Yeah, Bernie still got it. Even though I disagree with him on everything, he still is sharp.
But yeah, Bernie says, "Sit down. You're a United States senator. Sit down."
Yeah, Bernie's in his 80s. He's 80 something.
Yeah, and sharp. And look, you and I agree. I don't agree with anything Bernie Sanders stands for, but that moment, I mean, in that moment, he was on top of it. Sit
Yeah,
down.
he was. Bernie's 82, by the way. Joe Biden's 80 and President Trump's 77. So it's kind of give you a reference where everybody else is.
Yeah. And look, the things I've heard about people that I've talked to, have been interacted with them, is that Bernie Sanders is one of the nicest people you ever meet.
Well, most socialists are, aren't they?
Well, he's gracious. He's very
He's gracious
nice.
with other people's money.
Well, that's true. And he owns like 4 beach houses, but
Yeah.
he is kind. He's gracious. Even if he met one of the two of us, he would extend his hand and be kind.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it should be.
With
Most people. There's some.
Yeah, but he was the chair of this thing. Sit down.
Yeah.
You're a United States Senator.
Well, they were man to man too. And it wasn't like the next story where the old Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, actually sucker punched Representative Tim Burchett in the kidneys.
It's
a totally opposite story.
Do you really think that McCarthy did that?
Yeah, I mean, there were people around him that saw it. I mean, he basically just went up behind him and kind of elbowed him right in the kidneys.
So the story is, there's a Republican in the House that voted to boot McCarthy.
Yeah, right.
And he accused McCarthy of throwing an elbow.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily him. I mean, people around him did.
Into his lower back, and all that stuff.
Yep.
Man, I don't even think it's true.
I do. Yeah, there were too many people around him that saw it. Now, nothing's going to happen to Kevin McCarthy, but I just think he was irritated and saw his chance to kind of. I mean, there's also, look, I've kind of nudged people in the back before too. You probably have. But there's no love lost between these guys, right? I mean, they don't like each other. So that's why I think it's different than me kind of hitting you in the back as a friendly, like, hey, Dave, how's it going? No, this was Kevin McCarthy kind of punching this guy in the back. So,
yeah, but I'm more Senator Mullins than anything else. Like, if somebody actually did that to me, I'd beat his ass.
Well, I think he was surprised. I mean, because the Representative Burchett was given an interview. And I just think he was surprised when he felt somebody punch him in the back, and he turned around and it was McCarthy. There's been an ethics complaint filed against Kevin McCarthy. I'm sure it's not going anywhere. But there's also probably cameras. I don't know I haven't seen any camera angles as part of this, but witnesses around him said that this did happen.
Yeah, but I mean, if somebody elbowed me in the kidneys, I'd turn around and throw a punch.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the situation, right?
Well, it's a situation, but
you don't know if it was an accident or he did it on purpose. I mean,
well, and Kevin says, because if I did anything, it was accidental, and you have to believe him because there's no other narrative to go with it. But if someone elbowed me in the kidneys, I assure you the next thing that would happen would be an overhand right.
Yeah, I think the temperatures, I mean, you can just feel everybody's fed up with what's going on in D.C. right now, even the people up there. I think everybody's on edge. They did end up passing this bill to keep the government open, but the new Speaker of the House passed that bill, and it had Democrats helping. More Republicans voted no on that bill, so it's just a crap show in D.C. at the moment. And then I think more and more people are starting to talk about the debt, like we talked about earlier. I mean, they're finally
speaking of shows. Sorry, Eric. We have Nikki Haley. My God, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we should have mentioned her a while ago when we were talking about the other story about censoring speech. Yeah, Nikki Haley came out this week and said that every person that is on social media platform should have to prove their identity before they post anything. which is a huge First Amendment issue.
I don't disagree in principle, but it's not I do not believe it should be a government thing.
I guess if Facebook wants you to prove your ID, then Facebook can make me prove my ID, right? I think that's where we would fall on this. But
you have a blue check mark. I don't.
But it goes to, I heard this, Eric Erickson was talking about this week on his radio call-in show. Somebody called in and said, well, if Nikki Haley got her way, I couldn't call into your show and just say it's Dave with a question anymore. I would have to prove my identity to the Eric Erickson show when I called in, because this is my opinion. I don't have to identify myself when I call into a talk show. The same way I don't have to identify myself when I post on Facebook or Twitter or any other program.
And I don't disagree. And look, if Twitter or Facebook says that we need to verify who you are, fine. Private entity.
Yeah, but not the government policing this. And that's the problem here. It's the government. Right. She wants the government to police all these private entities. And man, I mean, just think of the oversight on that program where every single social media outlet, from Reddit to Facebook to Twitter to TikTok, everything, you'd have to somehow prove with a driver's license or a passport you are who you say you are. Yeah, it's...
I started the cycle liking her. Because I do like Nikki Haley. She's.
I don't like one thing about her. I got you.
I mean, the things, she started off, but the more she talks, the less I like her.
Yeah, she's a huge war hog.
Well, that goes for my wife too.
Yeah, she. I did see
that's
quite
a joke, Kenny.
I did see people this week that were supporting Nikki Haley come out and say they weren't supporting her anymore. So. There were some, people in the Georgia House that came out, retired and current, that were supporting her. They pulled back their sort of endorsement from her. She's walked this back now. She said she didn't really mean it for U.S. citizens. She meant it for foreign nationals posting online. She tried to say,
how in the hell do you know the difference?
Yeah, how do you do that too? Since these companies are global, right? I mean, it just. Her team has tried to walk this back, but I think she absolutely killed her any kind of presidential hopeful that she had is gone after this.
Yeah,
I mean,
she was
everybody's. Yeah, she wasn't, but her and, she was making headway in Iowa. I think this has killed that. She was doing better in New Hampshire behind Donut Boy up in New Hampshire, Chris Christie. Sorry to make a fat joke out of him, but I think she was in second place after Trump, but I think this just absolutely ended her political career running for president.
Yeah, she's done.
And whoever, let's just say Trump wins next year. Would you want this in the cabinet? I mean, do you really want Nikki Haley in the cabinet with him?
After what she said? No.
I know. Heck no. So this is scary stuff. I just don't know where and everything these people do is orchestrated. They go on shows. They know she thought about this. It wasn't just off the cuff, right? She thought about what she was going to say. This was not a mistake on her part. She believes this. And she obviously thought that it was going to be more receptive, right? People were going to say, yeah, great idea, Nikki. Let's go with that. And there was universal pushback against her.
This is an interesting one. So we have ballot access thing to have. 13 Republicans have declared for a president in Georgia. But there's one notable exception.
Yeah, so I didn't know, and this was happening, I guess, last week, that the state executive committee had to certify the list of people that would be on the March 12th, 2024 ballot, Republican ballot, right? When we go and vote on the Republican candidate. So they actually certified this week. And I think what you're alluding to is there was one notable exception. I didn't even know who this lady existed until this week.
I spoke to her this morning.
How'd that go?
She's something else. something else, man. She's something else. Good God.
And most people don't even know what we're talking about because nobody knows who Sarah Thompson is in Georgia. But she got into an online sort of rift with Jessica Slodgy this week on her Facebook page.
Which never goes well.
No, it doesn't. She called Jessica Tupperware, or either she did or one of her supporters called her Tupperware. And I also refer to Jessica as a thug. The lady doesn't even have a Facebook page. She says she was running for president, and she said she should have been on the Georgia ballot, and Chairman Josh McCoon left her off the ballot. But the lady doesn't even have a Facebook page with her real name on it. I don't know what's going on. This is weird. Weirder than weird.
It is strange. And like I said, I talked to her this morning. She was very kind with her time. I did not mention the fact that I'm, very good friends with Jessica and with Eric, who edits our podcast. So I didn't tell her that, but she was very kind with her time. But man, the stuff she was talking about.
Is she a mix between Candace Taylor and somebody else, or is she? I hate to bring up Candace Taylor on the show.
She's nuts.
So does she like nuts as in the Chinese control the voting machines?
No, first
of all, way.
She was talking about Chris Carr, and I'm with her.
Yeah, nobody likes Chris Carr.
Chris Carr needs to go. But she called the Republican Party a corporation, which it is.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But that they conspired to keep her out.
I don't think anybody conspired to keep her out of anything.
Well, that's the thing is you're talking about one state. If you're running for president, you have to run in 50 states.
Yep. And to be on the ballot, you have to. I think to be on the ballot, you've got to have a certain level of support. You have to pay $25,000.
$25,000
to the GOP, state GOP. So,
which is why I didn't run.
Yeah, it's me too. I didn't run because of that.
Well, you saw the post I put on Facebook.
Yeah.
That the party is so fractured that hell, I'll run. But I'm not paying $25,000 for the privilege.
And I don't know if you saw all these 11 candidates. I don't even know a couple of these people, like David Stuckenberg. I've never heard of that name. He'll be on the ballot. Ryan Binkley will be on the ballot. Ryan is a pastor. I don't even know where he's a pastor from. Perry Johnson's on the ballot. I don't know who Perry Johnson is. And then the people that have dropped out of the race lately, like Tim Scott will be on the ballot, Asa Hutchinson, Doug Burgum.
Well, Tim Scott's already pulled out.
Yeah, so they're still going to be on the ballot. They can't take their names off at this point. So even though they've pulled out, they'll still be on the ballot in March.
I will say that she was very gracious in talking to me. I talked to her for probably an hour.
You got more patience than I do.
She's quite lovely.
I don't talk to anybody for an hour besides you one time a week.
She's quite lovely. She was very gracious with her time. I understand that she hates Eric and hates Jessica and all that stuff, but us both being Army veterans, we had a very constructive conversation. She was quite kind to me. I'm not excusing any of her behavior. I'm just saying that she was kind to me with her time. And she was an officer in the Army. She was in personnel, and I was a non-commissioned officer. I was NCO, and she treated me with a lot of respect, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the way that she treated me, because I was not an officer, and it would be easy for her to talk down to me, and she did not. So I will say that about her is she was kind to me, and without needing it. She didn't talk down to me or anything else. I will say that there's no friggin' way I'm not voting for her. I can't.
You can't vote for her. She's not on the ballot.
Well, that's true too. But yeah, there's no freaking way. But she was very kind, and she was very nice with her time, and all that. So that should be noted. That when she answered the phone, first of all, she didn't know who I was, and honestly, if you're in Georgia politics, you should know who the hell I am.
Ooh.
Just like you can. People know who the hell you are.
About 18 people.
But at a certain point, if you get into Georgia politics, you should know who the hell I am.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been around for quite a while. You're one of the grassroots guys.
Well, it's not that. I'm not sucking my own pecker here. I'm just saying that if you're in Georgia politics, you should know who I am. When I call and I say I'm Dave Roberts, I called a state senator the other day, and he picked up the phone and goes, "Yes, Mr. Roberts." I'm like, how the hell do you know? This is not my state senator. My state senator is Jason Anvitarde. And, of course, when he picks up the phone, he knows who I am. But he's like, "Yes, Mr. Roberts." It's like, how in the hell do you know who I am? He goes, "I don't know, but you're my phone." But the point of that is she's so far out of the mainstream that she has no chance of doing anything because she's so far out of the mainstream.
Yep. Nah, I've never heard of this girl. But like we talked about earlier, she's probably a big deal in her local political party down wherever county in South Georgia she lives in, and these local GOP, I hate to say this, but these local parties are useless now. And it's good people, but all they talk about, if you go to any Republican Party meeting in the state nowadays, all they talk about is the election being stolen, that Trump, they talk about the voting machines. You'll hear, just go in and play, like bingo with the keywords you'll hear. It's all about the voting machines are rigged. We can never win another election. The election was there's nothing that's driving a party forward at the local level anymore besides just looking backwards. They're useless.
Well, yeah, and I feel that about the Republican Party is they're not advancing.
There's nothing constructive.
Anything. Well,
no,
exactly.
There's nothing constructive. Look, this week, not to get on to local parties, but this week a study came out. 70% of people support school choice in Georgia. It's the number one issue across both political parties in the state of Georgia that they support. 70% support school choice. Last year, 11 or 12 Republicans voted against Governor Kemp's bill for school choice. I don't know if you remember this. We talked about it on the show. So Republicans could have passed school choice. Every other state around us has passed school choice. That's an issue that wins. That's an issue that Republicans can go out into minority communities and talk about school choice. You think they're talking about that? You think they're addressing the 12 representatives that voted no on it? You think they're not doing any of that stuff. They're not taking any issues and focusing on them.
That is bipartisan.
It's the biggest bipartisan issue out there, school choice is.
Absolutely, because Black mothers want their kids to have the best education possible.
Yep, my representative voted against it. My state rep that followed me voted against school choice. She was one of the 11 or 12. Do you think our local party is calling her out for voting against it? Not a chance. All they're talking about is the voting machines being rigged. That's all they talk about.
Man, And look, it's the same thing on what's her name's page is number one thing is it was rigged. We want paper ballots.
And if it's rigged in 2020, what has changed where it's not going to be rigged again next year? So, I mean, look, Democrats are in control now. So Trump was in control in 2020, right? Now Democrats are in control. So what has changed? What's going to make the election become unrigged again? And what they're doing is they're just setting Trump up to lose again. And then we're going to go another 4 years of the whole crap being rigged again. And I mean, this is going to be the local talking point for the next 5 or 6 years.
But what's the point?
Yeah, there's none. I mean, I'm just tired of it.
What's the point? What's their solution? They don't have a solution.
Well, their solution is paper ballots, which can be just as hacked as the machine. I mean, I don't even think the machines can be hacked. I'm not a machine can be hacked guy, but paper ballots, there's all kind of issues with paper ballots. So I don't know why they think paper ballots is the end all be all.
It's called stuffing the ballot box for a reason.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's called stuffing the ballot box for a reason. And like I said, I'm not going to hammer her. She is brethren. You know, she's an Army vet and all that stuff. So I'm not going to hammer her, but I don't know what she wants. You know, paper ballots are not the answer.
No, they're not.
So, you want to read the last one?
No. Well, I can. You're talking about look, this is a very touchy subject here, but
which is why I told you to read it.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the headline is baptisms and football, and I saw the story on Jessica's page again this week. So the Tattnall County football coach, his name was Isaac Farrell. He will no longer be coach of the team, and the Board of Education came out and said he was relieved of his duties not by the story we're about to talk about, but by an incident that occurred after a game on November 3rd. So they're not saying this because of this. But so after practice, 20 players. So after practice, he had a pastor at practice, and 20 players stepped forward to be baptized. And this was a Facebook post that he made and got shared by the actual school. So 20 players got baptized. Yeah, the school shared it. 20 players got baptized after practice, and they had a pastor there. So, again, touchy. I mean, I've got friends that think we need to pray when every class starts in school. I've got friends that think religion belongs nowhere in school. And so we're being very respectful to both of those parties and people when we say this. But, you know, I think Jessica said it. I think she said it correctly, and I'll quote what she said. She said, to be perfectly clear, the issue is that a government employee orchestrated the religious act of baptism in his official capacity to take place on school, quote, or school, parentheses, government grounds, and end of quote. I think that's the issue here. And look,
school grounds is the issue.
You cannot do religious acts like this on school grounds in your official capacity. And I told you earlier, I was looking at a Facebook post on this that I think Fox 5 Atlanta shared. Every single comment was in favor of doing the baptisms. Like every single comment. There wasn't a comment that said you shouldn't be doing this.
Well, and look, I totally support the idea of being baptized. I'm
100%. Yeah, getting saved to be baptized. That's what, if you're a Southern Baptist or Southern, most if it comes from accepting Christ and being baptized at some point. That's kind of your public profession of faith, right? I'm all for that.
And I have no problem with that. The problem I have is on school grounds.
Yep.
is he should really not be doing that on school grounds. It's going to cost him his job. It did. I mean,
it cost him his football coaching. It didn't cost him his job at the school in the school system, but it did cost him his job as football coach, which is really big.
Well, in certain counties around Georgia, the head football coach makes, $120, $140 a year.
Yeah, they do well, right? And it's a very prestigious job. I mean, if you're a small county or rural county and you're a football coach, everybody, more people know who the football coach is than probably the superintendent or the principal. Football coaches are really big. Yeah, look, it is absolutely wonderful these 20 players step forward to be baptized. That is incredible, right? But the proper place for them to be baptized would have been at a non-sanctioned school event like their church on Sunday or a church on Wednesday night or whenever the baptisms occur. We were talking about it earlier. Why would you want a government entity like a school trying to teach your kid about God and Christ and the Bible? I mean, don't they have enough problems right now just trying to educate our children? And then you're going to trust a government employee to talk to your kid about religion? I don't know about you, but I don't want a government employee talking to any of my kids about religion. That's my job as a dad, and that's my pastor's job and where we go to church. It's not the school's job to teach my children about religion.
Well, that's the thing, is had it done it anywhere else, I don't care if it was in his front yard, anywhere else.
Yeah, I know.
Excuse me.
No, but yeah, that's
anywhere else, and literally anywhere else.
I know. I hate it for the guy. He seems like a super guy, right? I mean, I like where his mind is on all this, and I like where his heart is. You just cannot do this. You cannot do religious acts on school grounds in your official capacity. And this is different than FCA, right? My daughter's in Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and she spoke at school yesterday. So FCA is on campus, but it's a different type organization, and it's a different scenario.
It's not mandated.
Point. Right, it's not mandated. Yes, I don't know. I feel bad for the coach, but he also, if he wanted to do this, all they had to do was probably go a mile down the road to the closest church, and they could have been baptized there. And then, my Southern Baptist friends, they don't like it, but they would be up in an uproar if this was a Muslim doing some type of Muslim
or Satanist
or any other religion that they didn't support. They would be up in arms with pitchforks if that was occurring in the local school system. So that's why you need school out of religion altogether.
All right, Kenny, you have the mule.
Oh, good. This was the easiest meal ever. Yeah, in case anybody didn't see this, Bobby Storm, she's a musician. She's 36 years old. She was on a Delta flight last week, sitting towards the back of the plane when she starts singing. Now, she wasn't singing Amazing Grace or some song that people know. She was singing a new song that she's releasing this week. So down comes the flight attendant in charge, and he asked Bobby to stop singing because it was irritating him and other musicians or other people on the plane. She turns around and asks everybody on the plane, is her singing bothering them? Look, if I'd have been on that plane, I would have been like, hell yes. Look, nobody wants somebody singing songs to them on a flying metal tube going from Atlanta to Dallas. I get on a plane.
I want to be left alone.
I want to be completely left alone on a flight. I want to put my headphones in and either go to sleep or watch a movie. I don't want the lady next to me singing some. Look, and this was not some song everybody knows. She was doing nothing, but she was recording herself also. So she was doing this to look good for herself, right? And it was just glorifying her and nobody else. Nobody wants you singing on a flight, so.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk to people on a flight.
No, me. I mean,
I just want to be left alone.
And some people, I don't know about you, but I travel quite a bit. And every once in a while, you'll get that person that sits down beside you, and you know right away they're on talk the entire time. That's why I usually get on a plane with earphones, and I never take them off.
Well, it's also why I fly first class.
Yeah.
This is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show. I did make sure to highlight that for you last week.
What's that?
Not if it was not on the show.
Oh, I got you. Thanks. So last week I was on a business trip to Dallas, and I came back, and just for the listeners, we went on a golf trip with 12 other guys to Fripp Island, which is an island off the South Carolina coast, a little north of Hilton Head. What an incredible place to go. Either if you like the beach and you want to just relax for a week, or you want to take a bunch of people down and play golf, I can't recommend Fripp Island any higher. Just absolutely super place to go.
Or any respective company who may work for, or for which we may do work, or any associated companies. You can find other episodes over at thegeorgiavirtue.com. You kind of ruined that.
Sorry.
Are you really?
No, not really, but Fripp is amazing. Highly recommend Fripp Island.
All right, Kenny, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, we skipped over one little quick thing that everybody needs to look at. I'll make this my closing thought. There was a freedom report out by the Cato Institute this week. Cato is a libertarian-leaning think tank in D.C., where they rank all the states in order of like freedom and liberty. Georgia ranks number 9th overall, if listeners didn't know. So doing pretty good from the freedom report by the Cato Institute. But what I thought was interesting is a couple things in here. That occupational freedom, we were number 32nd in the nation, which is not good. We've talked about this a lot, but Georgia has 43 licensing boards, 197 different licensing types, which is really bad. So that prevents people from easily being able to get into the workforce. So Georgia needs to improve on that. And then I thought the other two stats that kind of stuck out is we're 41st in the nation in incarceration and arrest, and 38 on gambling freedom, 48 on cannabis freedom, and 48 on civil asset forfeiture. So we've got some areas that I think, especially around that civil asset areas and licensing, that Georgia could really improve upon. Hopefully the next session coming up here in January.
Doubtful.
I was trying to end on a positive note.
Doubtful. I really don't have anything. What I would say is, if you like what you heard, please like and share us on Facebook or Twitter or whatever your preferred social media is. But please like and share us. We would appreciate it. So, for Ken Pullen, for Eric, our editor, who I know people despise. I'm talking about one person in particular. I'm Dave Roberts. Have a good week.
Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.